Hello peoples, it's me Tristan, and in my latest bolt action video, Grumphstribe commented on and asked if I could show how I plan to paint these terrain pieces that that come in the Band of Brothers starter set for bolt action version 2. So that's what I'm gonna do. So the reason I prime these things black is because when I paint these, I don't have to be that precise with the brush. Like every mistake that I might leave or have will be already dark and black and covered. So I start off by using Vallejo Cold Grey, just using a bigger brush, and I'm gonna apply the paint, not that thick. Gonna even water it down a bit, just to give it a good cover. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fill all the crevices of the stonework. We just want to give it this good look. And I think it's even good if some of the black primer will show underneath the stonework. It'll give this extra character, or like extra shading to this stonework. So basically I'm just gonna follow what I did here and go over all of the rest of the building. So once you've base coated both of the buildings, I think it's ready for the wash. Vallejo Model Wash Black. I'm gonna use a little cork, or like a bottle cap. For this I'm just gonna put some inside it, some drops of it inside, and then I'm gonna take the building, get my brush all wet, and start applying it. Same as with the base coat, some areas may be a bit darker and some less so, to try to make it look a bit random. These earth piles can be darker though, so I'm just gonna cover the whole building like this. Some extra shading, shadows, and make it look rough. So I'm back after the wash has totally dried. As you can see, there are some areas that are more darker thanks to the wash, and some areas that are lighter. So the next step, I am just gonna try and highlight. For this I am using Stonewall Grey. It's a bit brighter than the base coat. Probably most of you know how to dry brush way better than me. As you can see, it already gives a little bit of highlight to it, and that's what I'm looking for. On one hand, I don't want it to be too subtle, but then again I don't want it to be too strong. And even if your dry brushing goes a bit, if my dry brushing, the brush would have too much paint, I wouldn't be worried, because I will have more layers of wash on this building before we're done. On painting terrain, I really enjoy the moment when your dry brushing starts bringing out all this nice texture. You could have a way better dry brush than me, I guess. I'm just using this old one, so I'm just using the materials that I have at hand. And dry brushing usually is not that healthy for the brush, so that's why I use these old acrylic and oil brushes. The next step is painting the wooden pieces, and I'm gonna start off with a leather brown. I don't know, is there a saying that the devil is in the detail? I think it's a saying somewhere, at least I've heard it a few times. So theme is always important with a piece of terrain, either if you're doing a whole table worth of terrain or just a single piece. The theme for these two buildings is abandoned old farm. So what that means is broken down and sort of a ruined farmhouse buildings are not actually fresh kills or fresh explosions or whatever you might call it. The history of these buildings, they have been so for, let's say, a decade or two. Maybe these people moved away. So the reason why I want these to be already ruined or a decade ago or something is that I want to be able to play with some greens, moss or flowers, or add them here to make it look visually interesting, like colorful in a way. Now that I have given it a second coat of the brown and let it dry, I think it's ready for, these pieces are ready for a wash. Vallejo dark brown. What I'm doing is, I'm not only covering the wooden piece, but the rubble pile itself as well. And the reason is that there's probably mud and dirt in the rubble pile, and the Vallejo model wash, this one is subtle enough so it won't pull like, I don't know, inks or anything. Actually, yes, I'm gonna just give a slight wash all around, specifically next to the ground. It's like maybe some dirt or dust that's gathered up around the frame or like around the building. Thicker in some places, less thicker in others. Yes, I think it's a good idea. Gives it a bit of a depth. So we're back after the wash has dried, and I'm gonna take leather brown once again to dry brush the wooden bits. Subtle highlight to the timber pieces on the rubble piles as well. The dry brush will play a bigger role on the bigger wooden bits. And in this case, I'm dry brushing only the areas you can see. So I won't be dry brushing underneath the second floor or something. So now I'm going to give a light dry brush with plague brown. As before, it's not that important on the debris piles. It comes out here on the bigger areas with wood on it. So the bad thing about this roof thing is that it doesn't have wood grain engraved into it. Like on the floor here you see a little wood grain like pattern, but on the roof bit there are none, so dry brushing doesn't have that nice effect on it. So the next bit is only for the second floor and maybe the roof bit. So I'm going to use a sepia shade or a sepia wash. Just gonna pull a little wash streak on the sides. As you can see, it will like pop out a bit, so it will separate the floorboards from the support beams. It just brings out a few of the details, which is something that I want anyways. So I think the wood is done with this. So next up we have the chimney up here. For that I'm going to use German grey, one of my favorite paints. I thought about painting it up in metallics, but then I came to the conclusion that it would be too shiny and take away attention, away too much from the whole piece. So now the paint has dried, I'm going to move on with the next step, which is a black wash. These bullet holes in the smaller building's wall, I'm just going to give them also a tiny dab of black wash. That's usually how I paint most of my things that I need to have in black color, is just use the German grey and give it the black wash. As the top of the chimney has the wash is dried, I think it looks quite solid enough. It won't draw too much attention on it, but it will still work. So I think at this point you could already put it on the table and play with it. As I said, I wanted this farm or this house to be like an old ruin, not a fresh one, but I want it to have some greens on it. I mean, like grass tufts maybe, and some moss growing on the rocks or something. So for this, to enhance that vision, I'm going to use this dark green wash, almost like they did in I don't know, was it in Victorian ages, where they just built ruins to look cool in their parks or something. In this stage the green wash will be helpful to hide any of the mistakes I might have. I'm trying to keep it a bit random, but at the same time it would be nice if it would be in a logical way. I'm gonna try and not overdo it, but I think I've already overdone it down here. I couldn't pull this off with like a neon green or whatever other green wash. I think Citadel's camo wash would work, but I'm actually quite skeptical about if it would work or not. but it might. I just haven't tried because I have this, and this seems to work perfectly for me. So, so now I'm back. Everything has dried off, and it's ready for the next step. Now, what I have here is these little grass tufts. I'm using these because I think they will suit with the green grass mat that I have for playing. I'm just gonna use a generic super glue, nothing that special. And it's sometimes useful to use these pinchers. Just put some super glue there and stick it in there. What I think would be cool is if one would be up here somewhere. I think I'm gonna put one here. And I think one small bit would even work up here like that. So I think that's enough with the little grass tufts. Next up I'm going to use these bigger ones. So it comes in these bigger clumps. But what I like to do with them is just break them up into little smaller pieces. One here would be nice. I think that's enough of grass tufts. Next up I'm gonna use this dark green flock. I'm gonna use a piece of paper so the flock wouldn't go everywhere, but just stay on the paper here, and I could reuse whatever falls off in the end. I don't know, let's start with this end of the building. As with everything, I think it looks better if you don't put it on too much. Would be smarter to use like a finer brush for this sort of work. But I do this one side at a time, and so once I added the white glue, I'm gonna sprinkle the flock on top of it. I'm back here, and I added the green flock here and there, building up this old and mossy look to it. And I think it's rather fine, and if it would be a diorama piece, this is how I'd leave it. But as it is a gaming piece, it will be handled a lot. Then I want to go ahead and use a technique. Take some white glue, mix it up with water, like 50-50 maybe, or even more. Probably more would be smarter. And what I'm gonna do is just dab it on top of the flock, so this will fasten it or make it strong, so it wouldn't like fall off every time someone touches it. It will change the coloring a bit of the nice mossy green to a bit of a darker, like more of a plastic green, but it'll still work. It'll dry to be transparent, so you don't have to worry about having like these white blotches on the piece of terrain you have. And finally the pieces of terrain are ready. Once the glue was dried, I just matte varnished it, and then I even gave it 2 coats of matte varnish just to make it stick. That's because this is planned to be like a gaming piece. These little dirt piles I think work well. I think I achieved the point that I was trying to get to. It's like a farm that has been ruined for some time now, with moss and everything growing over it. And I think that's about it. A good place for a spotter of some sort. What more can I say? I hope this was somehow entertaining or helpful or whatever. Anyways, thank you for watching, keep it safe, and I will talk to you in the next one.